What if I told you you can make 300K a year by teaching people how to use AI?
I work in AI education, so I build education programs and certifications for tech companies like OpenAI. Earning potential, you could probably peg it around to 300K per year.
Chris, thanks for joining us. If you had to describe what you do in one sentence, how would you describe it?
I work in AI education, so I build education programs and certifications for tech companies like OpenAI. AI is just changing the face of education. Like, one of the things that as an educator that gets talked a lot about is how can you personalize education to the individual? And before AI, there's no way that was possible, right? We're just doing our best. You have these lecture halls, you have cohort-based courses, but once you have AI, you can really tailor the entire program to specifically how you learn, to the examples that resonate with you in order to help you get a concept.
And with, I guess, like AI being so new, would you say this is like a conventional profession, or I guess like how did you even craft a path to get here?
I would say that it is definitely not a conventional path. I think the way I crafted my path into this was I was always involved in education in some sort for the last, call it 8 to 10 years, whether that was directly building courses, whether that was building certification programs for different companies. And for me, it was seeing this AI thing is going to change the face of how we do education. And so it makes sense for me to learn those skills so that I can be at the forefront as those changes start to trickle down to the rest of the industry.
Gotcha. And you're somebody who's seen kind of both sides of the coin, where you've worked a corporate job, you're now more self-employed or project-based, and we'd love to get your take on what made you make that transition, why you ultimately chose to go this route.
Each time I go into a different career decision that I need to make, I always ask myself, what am I optimizing for? And I've done a few different things in my career. I worked in restaurants, I worked in entertainment, I worked in tech. And at each of those pivots, I always ask myself, whether I knew it or not, what am I optimizing for? And at this particular time, when I was comparing, do I find another W-2 or do I try this consulting thing? What I personally am optimizing for is continuing to have location freedom and continuing to have as much optionality with my time as possible. I'm settled down. I live in Philadelphia. I have 4 kids. And so family is number one for me, right? You're just never going to get this time back when your children are young. And so having that control over time is so important. And doing consulting gives you that freedom and that flexibility around your time that if you're trying to work at any of these high growth startup, you're going to be stuck in calls all day. Like, there's just no way around it. There's going to be an expectation that I fly into New York City or I fly into San Francisco and be there in person for a week every single month, right? And that was not a trade-off that I wanted to make.
Naturally, the next question I have for you is, what does your typical day in the life look like?
I like to structure my calendar so that every day I know which client that I'm focused on, and it'll just be a lot of heads down time working on whatever project it is. So with OpenAI, we're working on a certifications course in order to upskill 1 million plus workers who could be office workers, but a lot of them are also like frontline retail workers. And just thinking through, okay, what would a certification program need to look like that is able to upskill these type of employees on AI?
I feel like an AI educator and creating content in itself is still relatively a new industry or field. What are some of the skills that you need to have as a professional working in this space?
I'll touch on 2 skills. One is the actual skill to help you get good with AI. And that is the skill of being willing to experiment and really understand what that means. So when you are experimenting, you need to come into a hypothesis. I'm about to do this, and I expect this result. And if I get that result, okay, I understand that I used these inputs, and it got me to XYZ output. If it does not get you that output, which over 50% of the time, you're not going to get what you expected, you need to aggressively continue to iterate until you get the result that you're looking for, right? And it's being willing to stay in the zone and continue to iterate to get you to the output that you expect, right? And ultimately, all of us are going to be working with these tools in some way or fashion. So now's the time to get good at it. So that is kind of like the skill of learning and getting good at AI. On the side of like working with these bigger clients, there is this skill of client management. So the feeling that I want to leave a client with is that I want them to feel like I am a member of their team. That means communication, that means high touch, and having that type of relationship with these clients is how you retain them. It's how you build a good reputation so that you can land your next client. And so I think you really need both of those skills working hand in hand.
On the topic of like just the industry growing, what we've been asking our guests is, with AI kind of proliferating in all these different industries, like how is it changing? What do you see 5-10 years down the line in this field?
Let's just talk about education because that's what I know. For education, the way it's going to go is it's going to be purely like barbell. On one side, if you are looking to learn something on your own, it's all going to happen through a chat interface where the entire subject matter, that whole experience is going to be personalized to you. And anytime that you need a concept clarified, you're going to be able to ask the chat and it's going to say, oh, okay, let me like explain it. Let me give you a different example. And then on the other side, I think things like in real life events are going to be the other like premium or the other side of education. Like in real life boot camps, doing workshops with other real people, going through material and like having a community or support group. That's where the rest of the education is going to happen. Human interactions that you can't replace with AI. That's where a lot of the learning is going to happen. It's all human to human learning, peer learning. And what gets squeezed out are any self-serve courses, any courses that you built out, you sat down, recorded 20 videos, and you put it into a course that gets served on whatever the tool is at the time. I think those are all going to go away. And AI is ultimately causing this barbell where you just have the two sides, everything in the middle is just goes away.
I love that take. I guess another question I have is for students that they're thinking about breaking into this industry, are there any companies or like internship programs that they should kind of aim for?
I'll take this in a different direction. I would say the way I would do it is I wouldn't even think about internship programs. What I would do is I would find what are the industries or fields that I'm just so passionate about that I know freaking all the details about it. And I would look for small startups in that space. And I would just email them and approach them about working for using AI to solve whatever problem that they may be facing. If they are struggling to get leads for their business, I would say, I'm going to go and I'm going to find 10 leads for you. And I will do this every single day. If it's developing content, because I saw that this company their like social media game is not good, or they don't have a newsletter, I would go and just build that for them. AI would make it so easy for you to do it. And this is the way to get in to the door with these type of companies. And you just need one to say yes. And once you get that name, that brand name on your LinkedIn, on your resume, that opens the doors to everything else. It just comes off so differently when you're the one, when you're the one like attacking the problem and coming in with solutions to problems that they know they have and they just haven't had the bandwidth to think about how to solve. And I think that is a better approach. I did a stint with The Rundown. So The Rundown is a AI newsletter. And this was it was just a cold email, right? So I saw that they were looking for people. They were looking for AI educators. Instead of applying, I found the founder's email and I just wrote him a cold email. It was one sentence long. It was something like, hey, like I saw you're looking for an AI educator. I did education at these companies. Would love to take a look and see what you guys are doing and see if there's any way I can help out, right? And just like taking a slightly different tact in order to get my foot in the door, like that is the skill set that matters. Because I think most people would see it and be like, oh, okay, like let me just apply. Just figuring out, okay, what is the side door that I can go through in order to get someone's attention.
And switching gears a little bit, just on the topic of pay and compensation, what's kind of the earning potential there?
Earning potential for someone who is my level or below, it's a wide range because it's going to vary depending on the size of the company. But I think you could probably peg it around 120K to 300K per year. So that's if you're in-house W-2 employee. If you are looking to get in as a consultant, range is going to vary even more. But generally, what I recommend to people is where I like to start is to end up on a 10K per month retainer at 20 hours per week. I know people who charge $4,000 per hour for their services. And obviously, they built up a big book, they've built up their reputation, and they've been able to unlock that level of compensation. And I think the takeaway there is, yeah, you can start at 10K, but if you build up your reputation and you do the work, like the sky's the limit, versus with a W-2 salary, just certain levels that you need to hit, and the salary is pegged at those levels.
Got it. And it sounds like there's a lot of upside to this in terms of just like flexibility, choosing your own hours, you can make a lot. Are there any parts of the job that you would warn people about?
There are plenty of downsides. If you're not able to pick up clients, it can be very much feast or famine. It could feel like months you're doing great, and then it could dry up, and suddenly like I'm scrambling to find the next job. There's this constant feeling or questioning of, am I doing enough in order to keep them as a client? There's a lot of FOMO. If you are someone who thrives being on a team and you want that camaraderie of working inside of a company, you're going to miss out on a lot of that as a contractor. But I think the main thing I want to leave as a takeaway is that there are a lot of upsides, but these downsides are real, and it just requires a certain emotional maturity.
Chris, one more question for you. Where can people generally find you? Do you have any socials that you'd like to share?
People with their careers at a site called remotelifeos.com. And there I share tips on how you can use AI to navigate kind of the modern career space. So if any of this resonated, that's a good place to check me out.